the Chief bonding with board games. I'm back with Amelia. We're doing Beauty and the Chief. So I'm clearly the Chief. You're the Beauty. So this is again I wanted to bring back, I used to have Beauties and the Chief. So I had a couple gals that came on, did the show, Cammie and Mickey, and just life moves on. They couldn't do the show anymore, but I always missed the show.
Right, yeah.
I talked to Amelia, huge gamer. You're getting more games played now yourself than I
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I was like, are you interested? And she was like,
why not? Yes. It's always good to have a different perspective.
So today's top 5 list, we talked, and it's going to be the top 5 games that you're playing right now. And if you guys like this, and if we enjoy it, this might be something we do quarterly or something where we just come in and say, what's hot? It's almost like what's hot now, but it's not, I noticed, it's not always kind of what's hot.
Right.
It might be what's working with the family, or
exactly, yeah.
Or maybe my wife's like, I really love that. I'm like, it's not bad. So some of those could make it on too. So these I personally did rank kind of where they sit more for me.
Same.
How did you? Okay,
yeah.
you did the same. Got it. So
the weight in my heart.
I'll kick this one off. You started the other one. I'll kick this one off. So a long time ago, I got Seventh Continent, kickstarted it. Heavy box, lots of cards. And the expansion, which is the white box, and I can't even remember what it's called, came out. I haven't unshrinked it yet.
Of course, yeah.
It's still in there, yeah. I've got these reviews I got to do, and I thought, once I open that, I really have so much content here.
That's true.
But Serious Pulp's coming out with what I think they're even good. They say they won't kickstart another one. They did a version 2 or the second printing, but they're talking about Seventh Kingdom. They love this system, but they say they won't do this particular thing again. Some of that could be, hey, you better jump on board too. I don't know what they're doing. But what about Seventh Kingdom do I like and play a lot? The game captured me as a solo player. Maybe 2-person. I would not play this with a group. What it did, though, is this exploration thing that happened. You lay down cards which slowly start to build the map of the current curse that you're playing.
Yeah.
The whole idea is, have you ever played it?
No.
Okay. There's a secret hidden Seventh Continent. It's almost like the era of Amelia Earhart, where there's this secret cursed continent.
So want to discover, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this whole discovery thing, and there's to alleviate the curse, this story kind of unfolds on there, and there's a little bit of like puzzling out, and if you don't, you can die based on this deck exhausting, and you can rest, and you can find stuff, and there's clues on the cards, kind of, and I found it, I learned it, started to play it. It's got a great save mechanism, so you can just kind of pause and put everything back in the box, but it had my brain alive, and to the point where I even thought I had to be careful. It reminded me of like when I start to play a good Sim City game where I'm like, I need a little bit more. The kids come down and want sustenance, and I'm like, go away. I'm on Seventh Continent.
Yeah.
So that's what grabbed me here. It's been back on the forefront just once when the new one came out. And I'm busy, but I've even thought I will enjoy this so much when I'm old and retired, which is stupid. Play it right out. But I'm thinking, because I could probably stop playing almost all my other games and spend hours with this, but I don't quite have that luxury right now. Seventh Continent, number 5 on what I'm my top 5 right now games.
So my number 5 would have to be Keyforge. I've talked about how, I'm an avid Magic player, or I was, kind of fell out of that. And Keyforge came out. Richard Garfield again decided, you know what, I don't like this, or he wanted to kind of change up the state of Magic as it is and kind of bring it back to just the card game, just having fun. And so Keyforge, what drew me in was every deck is $10. It's randomized. There's no deck building element. It is just you and another person playing this deck that you have no idea the win condition for necessarily. You can't buff it out with all these expensive cards. it's just bringing it back down to the fun of playing. And there's no, rule lawyers in the game yet. It's real laid back, and
because there's like a computer that just randomly and then shoots out a pack.
Exactly, and they all have their own little name, and they all have different, houses, and instead of just doing straight damage to each other, you're trying to build keys by amassing amber. So instead of just a head-to-head combat at all times, there's different things that can kind of keep you busy. So if you don't like doing the aggro kind of red style deck, you don't have to. You can be more control-y, you can be more just amber and not even care about the other party basically, and just kind of farm amber on your own. So it kind of allowed me to introduce magic light to a bunch of people who are like anti-magic basically, and it's something that I can teach somebody in just a couple minutes. I can take it to a coffee shop and whip it out and play, and it's fun. People stop by and they're like, what are you doing? What is that? And
I've been wanting to try it. I never have, so we'll have to try that at some point in time.
I have so many decks.
Then are some people selling, like, because if you get a deck, is it the only deck like that out there?
I believe so, yeah. I think that's the whole gist of it, is that's yours, and it is completely randomized with all those cards. So I don't think that they've repeated any decks so far. But yeah, you can sell them. So
some people will say, this is a cool deck, I want to put it on eBay or whatever. And and does it share maybe, like, it's got a few of cards that other people know about? Or is it completely, did they just come up with this total random thing where there's nothing else like that deck at all?
So the cards will overlap. Like, they've got a pool of cards, and then it just kind of randomizes which cards go into which deck. So there might be overlap, and theoretically, if somebody shared their deck list, I could try to make that deck. I don't know anybody that's doing that, honestly. I
thought, do they put like they've got something that tags them all as belonging to this deck?
Yeah,
too,
the back
right?
is all. Yeah, the back is unique to that deck. Which, I mean, you could sleeve and, try to do another deck list if you really wanted to. I don't know anybody doing that. Most people are just happy with the decks that they get. I know you can sell decks, but I think one of the cool things is it has a companion app that you can scan the QR code on your deck and track the wins and losses and determine how powerful your deck is. They've got this mechanic called chains, which can basically make a deck harder to win with. So if you know your deck's kind of overpowered, you can trim it down a little bit and follow it on that app. And
I did see, it was funny because the first time I heard of this Keyforge was the random computer, not a person, is throwing out names of something, and one of the names was, I don't know, it's like something a little hateful or something on there.
Yeah, they had some questionable names to begin with. Those were quickly recalled, yeah.
Because what I saw was their alert came across, like they had apparently put out, like, hey, we will buy these back.
Please.
Then people were putting them on eBay, and now they're collectible because they're bad or they're naughty, or was it... I think one of them, something that seemed like it was not like a particular race, but it seemed like there was some kind of, I don't know if it was bigotry or something. Or
I think so. I mean, basically it all they threw in, different adjective generators and...
Right, because an algorithm shot stuff out.
Exactly, yeah. When that happens, you're going to get something that somebody's not going to like at some point.
And they had complaints or something came in and they were like, if these are out there in the wild, we want to buy them back.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with gamers and collectors, they're like,
nope.
I have it. I have that.
You're not
I'm not sending this back. Oh, we'll send you another deck. Oh, no. Oh, this thing's bad.
Yeah, and that thing is worth
I read
money,
one of them. It wasn't even really that bad. It was almost like innuendo, maybe.
Right. They're kind of suggestible. It's not... It wasn't anything like
curse
words. Exactly. It wasn't anything
racial,
vicious. It was just...
It was
like,
an innuendo.
That's kind of inappropriate, and they didn't want that image on that game.
Yeah,
so.
But to me it was funny because that's what drew my attention. And then I even read a side article where they're like, do you think they did this on purpose just to get attention?
Definitely got people buying decks and talking about it.
It did. And I was like, I don't, because I saw one of them and I thought, no, that totally looks like some computer put some together that could be innuendo. But
Never
that
know
was-
marketing strategies.
Yeah,
So.
that would have been perfect. Let's see what I have. Okay, so here we go. Werewolf. So what I'm playing right now. Now, if you watched the first show that Amelia and I put out, I hint at Ultimate Werewolf. This is getting played to the point that I have to warn people not to accidentally mark cards or fold cards. There was a person that was holding their card in their hand, and I think they got so excited it came back kind of not bent but curled
A little bit, yeah.
and I was like, whoa, we gotta be some other. I think somebody had their nail coming back and forth. So because Bo got one, he's like, hey, this one's got scratches on them. Like, she just told everybody if they've had that card that
they know.
That's a villager card, by the way. Now there's enough in there. We just recently. So okay, let me back up. What is Werewolf, in case you don't know? It is like one of the best group party games I've had. Handles 15, 18 people well. It actually doesn't handle like 6 or 7 is good. Ultimate Werewolf, or the One Night Werewolf, I think is better for that. But, and it handles light gamers so well that they get enamored with gaming.
Yes.
And it's so social. And I know I've got some war game buddies. They don't like the social, or it's not as game as much.
It's a good party game, though.
Right.
Mix it up.
I know. I just got. If Judd was here, he'd tell you how much he hates party games. Ham tag guy. But in this, we will sit around these couches. The chairs turn. People are and they're just. They just get enamored with it because I'm a werewolf. I'm working secretly with Amelia, who's sitting right over there. Who are we going to take out? How do we avoid suspicion? It's all psychological warfare.
Exactly, yeah.
And it just, and then you can add in, of course, the seer or the bodyguard. There's all these other roles that morph it just a little bit. And I've got, matter of fact, it was Jim that was even, hey, I think he's texting me, I think we did a rule wrong and it didn't seem to work right. And I said, let me go look. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. The way that's supposed to work is this. I read that wrong. And he's like, I can't wait to come over and play again.
Let's play it the right way.
Yeah. And I will say we've got another friend that's been over, and they even reached out to us and said, we have a family member, I'll be a little obscure here, that they're they're very shy around groups of people.
Right.
But they love games. And they said, would you mind if we brought this family member? I said, not at all. I said, maybe we'll even do a night where they're not as comfortable on crowds. I said, maybe we'll just do a little 4 or 5 person game night. I've got to dust off. I haven't played one night Ultimate Werewolf. I said, maybe we can try that. And we'll play a little of this or that. And then if that gets them comfortable, maybe they'll be comfortable coming over when we have 24 people here. And then they know, we're going to play Werewolf. That's my... I'm excited.
Yeah.
So this, I'm taking it to the family reunion I'm leaving for on Friday. It's just so enjoyable. It even handles younger kids can get it.
So well, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of killing. People are thrown out of the village. So I don't, but that's probably the only difference is.
Right,
but yeah. I mean, so Werewolf, I've got to try your Legacy version too.
Legacy Werewolf, yeah, hands down. It really gets people into that, but it's amplified so far because they get connected to that character, and some of them are related, and you have to,
I'm gonna have it. We're gonna have to get it, and again,
definitely worth it.
Yeah, my wife's one of her lead volunteers that never plays the game. She'll have her daughter come, but she'll just showed up, and then I'm like, you have to try this. And now she's like, that was so fun. And she's quiet, she's accusing, you're a werewolf. And I'm like, yes, we've got her. So Werewolf, it'll continue being played at this household probably for decades.
Oh yeah.
Assuming I make it that long.
So I would say that my number 4 would be Dice Throne. It is something that I kickstarted the second season of, not the first season. I just bought this. But basically what it is, you have a character, they have certain abilities, and the way you unlock those abilities or use those abilities is via dice rolls. So you roll your dice, you get up to 2 rerolls, and then you use whatever abilities you can to attack the other person or other people. And the reason why I love it is because, it's not something that somebody can get really good at. You have that luck mechanism with the dice. So even though it's competitive, somebody might be rolling better than you. Next game, you could be rolling better, or on your defense rolls, you could roll, and it's actually possible for both characters to die at the same time. So you can end up fighting each other, and you stab each other simultaneously and you both die. And so it's great for people who love games, because there is a kind of a deck building element. You draw cards and you can upgrade your powers. But it's also good for people who really aren't into heavier games, because all it is rolling dice, matching it up with what's on the board, and that's it. You just attack. And there's not a whole lot of options. It's straightforward, but it is cutthroat. People get really into it. It's so laid back. People want to play it again and again and try all these different characters, and it's so easy to grab out of the bag, play real quick.
We're going to have to try this.
It is, it's awesome. And then, second season, I kickstarted that. It's a massive box.
Really?
And there's, a dozen more characters than that. So
because it says play 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, or free-for-all. So you can have teams going against each other. And
one mechanic that we do is, if we have a bunch of people around a table all playing, is we will roll our turn, determine our turn, and tell everybody our turn, and then we will roll a die for targeting. So that way nobody can gang up on each other. We can't all take one player out. It's completely randomized. So definitely, I
want to try that. I don't know what your time is for today. But how long does a game of that take?
It can take anywhere from like 20 minutes to 45 minutes.
Okay, and it really doesn't go past 45 by
Not
design?
Usually, not usually. If you have a bunch of players and some people are a little bit slower, it can vary, but not usually.
But 1v1, it's 20 minutes generally?
Typically, because it's just so fast back and forth.
We may try that at the end of this filming session. I'm intrigued. All right, Mystic Veil. Mystic Veil, my number 3, with the caveat. The app came out for this. All right. I have the 3 expansions over there with the Wild, Magic, and I can't remember the other one, of Mana maybe? I don't know. The app, I'm playing it 5-6 times a day. I'm just boom, boom, and I've purchased in the app they have Magic Veil and Wild, I think, are the 2 they have, and they're supposed to get the other one soon. I'm layering them in one at a time, together. I'm on the leaderboard. I've been 14 worldwide leaderboard. I had to watch out because I was min-maxing, because winning wasn't enough against the AI. I need massive amounts of points. And then I was extending, but I was playing it so much. A buddy of ours, or mainly a buddy of mine, who shows up on the Scotch show as Cousin Shane every once in a while. He loves games. I'm like, come over, let me show you this card sleeve deck builder. So, what is Mystic Veil? You're like these wood elves, but the cool thing is it's deck building, but it's with these card sleeves. So you have a card, but the card can have up to 3 things in it, sometimes 4, I'll explain. They have these clear, like laminated pieces, and you have the main part of your card, which could be blank. It could be a spoilage, which is like a desert thing, or it could be basically a fertile field. But you then deck build by choosing these cards that slide into card sleeves, and a card ends up have a top, a middle, a bottom, and then occasionally you can even have this hidden little thing that pops at the bottom that's a text thing or whatever. And you're evolving and changing these cards, and then it's the normal deck building deal where you want things to chain and trigger. And you're going, I love deck builders as apps because all the shuffling's done, all the reminders. And this one, you have these Veil cards, which are these gorgeous tarot-sized cards. Not only are you looking for like mana victory points to gain, but you're also picking up these little veil symbols that allow you to buy stage 1 or stage 2 veils, which can do things in the game or give you victory points. And the app tracks all that. I was playing it again I'd played the app so much, but I was playing it and it was I felt like it was moving glacially slow. I kept forgetting that I had one of the Veil cards that was going to give me a mana money or whatever and a Veil thing. And I'd be like, oh, I could have, that was 2 turns ago. I forgot it. So this may get sold because I don't think I'm ever going to play it.
It's far superior for you.
Yeah, I mean, because if Liz wanted to play, I'd be like, the app. I mean, it just handles it,
right.
Pass and play.
And it's hard once you get used to a pace and then you're impatient and,
Yes, because it just, I mean,
and now you're on leaderboards. You're just going to smoke everybody else. So nobody's going to want to play with you anyway.
and I couldn't believe, I can churn a deck so fast that when I was playing it in real life, just the manualness of setting it in, shuffling it. Tedious. I was like, this is horrible. I'm living in the future. This is like archaic. So Mystic Veil with the caveat, really the app. So
let's see, my number 3 is actually a relatively new game for me. I bought it not too long ago. So there's this line of choose your own adventure games, and this is the second one in the line. The first one was amazing. Played it in a night with 5 people. Loved it. Loved it. This is the second one that they've come out with, War with the Evil Power Master. And it's a little bit different than the first one. So the first one was just a deck of cards. If we go to this, we go to card number what, and it was not bad, and we loved it. We still played it through. This one is actually really nice. It's added some modifiers in to add that replayability. So instead of just a deck of cards, you have multiple decks of cards. You have a character that can collect items. And you have a board, and what you're doing is you're trying to find the Evil Power Master, and you have to fly to different planets and collect clues. And based on what you do, you may or may not get a clue. You might destroy a clue on the planet. I've played it a couple times, and I have not beat it. But there are different endings as well. So if I lose on a certain planet in a certain on a certain card, I'll have one ending. If I end it a different way, or if I die, I'll have a different ending. So there's all these different ways of playing, and it's honestly, it's so easy to get people into. There's not a ton of rules. It's a lot of reading, but honestly, that seems to kind of engage people.
Do you read it out loud to the group then?
Yeah, so it can be, up to 4 players. It says 1 or more players, but there's 4 characters. And you make group decisions, and you kind of have to decide what your team is going to do. Are we going to go investigate this? Are we going to go interrogate this person? Which planet should we fly to next? And honestly, haven't beaten it yet. It's still pretty new for me, but it's one that I would play again, even if I have beat it, just to see the different options and to go through the different cards and see what's possible with different equipment and different people, play styles.
So I think this would be a perfect family game.
Oh yeah,
I'm picturing like with my son and my wife Liz, and he's reading it. So you're actually reading it to the other players.
Yes.
So is there anything that ever secret, like do not share this?
Not yet.
I know I could see them doing it. Like
I could definitely see that.
You read it, you know something back into the deck, and then maybe somebody else knows something.
As far as I know, you read it all out loud, and it's big on storytelling. So there's a lot of voice in all of the cards, and you take turns, so each person reads a card. I'll read one. We all decide as a group where we're going to go. You'll read the next, and it goes around. That way, nobody really feels left out, and everybody gets to have their chance telling the story and being the storyteller and having the center of attention.
I loved Choose Your Own Adventure books when I was a kid.
So great, yeah. No, I did as well. They were a lot of fun for me, and so it's got that bit of nostalgia as well as,
definitely. As soon as I saw the cover, I was like, I mean, I could have seen it if you were carrying it down the stairs. I would have been like, does she have a Choose Your Own Adventure book?
Yeah.
I had seen these.
They're all based on the books.
Right, and it was sold at Target, I think, too.
Yeah, that's where I got it.
Yep. Because I saw one at Target.
Z-Man Games.
Yeah, and I was like, what is that? Yeah, and they've got the same style and even kind of the art feel to it. And
the components in there are pretty much the exact same. It's black and white. It's got you can see examples of the cards. That's the board there. It's got the kitschy artwork and if you do this, go to card, and it really draws people in because at first you're like, okay, this is, even if you're not into Choose Your Own Adventure, once you get started, it's like, okay, well, I don't think we should do that. Even the people that are kind of passive are going to stand up for their choice. So
now, what if, let's say you've got 4 people playing and not everybody's agreeing on a move? How do you resolve that? Is that just your group, or?
It is written, I think it was in the first set of rules. I haven't fully read, but we're playing it the same way as whoever's reading the card is the tiebreaker. So if the group is split 50-50, if it's my card, we're doing my way.
Love it. That's perfect. I'm sure that's continuing on, because that's what I wondered is how do you break that? Yeah. That's perfect. So
and that way
whoever's reading the card gets to say, well, we're 50-50. We're going this way.
Exactly. They're the leader of that chapter, basically. So
perfect. Let me make sure I'm pulling the right one. Yes. All right. So we saw this in the last list we did. What am I playing now? Number 2 is Awakening the Bear. So kind of a cool backstory, again, Conflict of Heroes. I'm awaiting Storms of Steel. Yes, it's been held up, delayed. It's, the maps had a problem.
You're not too bitter about it, though.
Yeah, there's all kinds. But this has been great. So I filmed the whiskey show with Scott on Mondays. We would come in. It's a day off I have. We would film multiple shows. My co-host on the whiskey show's days off changed. We couldn't film on Mondays anymore. And I literally, it was like heaven sent, a board gamer, a war gamer had gotten a hold of me, not even knowing my schedule changed. Is like, hey, I know you love Awakening the Bear. It's your favorite tactical military World War II combat game. I really want to play more of it. And you're the one that I know that plays all the time and likes it. And he goes, do you have any days? He's retired. I said, Mondays just opened up. He goes, Mondays are perfect. And he's like, could we do it every 2 weeks? Yes. Because my youngest boy, my wife doesn't really like war games. Fine. No problem. I always hoped Bo, my 12-year-old, currently 12 at this age, would be like, I love World War II. He doesn't. He's more of an RPG.
Yeah.
He loves role-playing games. Great. I don't have a problem with that either. But he won't sit down and play this with me. We even tried it once. He's like, I don't like the pace. I was like, dang it. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a unit over there. And there's like 12 guys in that unit. Now it feels like a cardboard chip.
That's all it is, yeah.
And so now I got the guy that comes over is Boomer, and we're playing it at least every 2 weeks. We're getting a game down. We're playing through. We're going to be playing the Polish version, the 1943 Storms of Steel. They've got the American Invasion 1944 that's going to hopefully someday come too. So this had been off the table. I don't think I'd played it in a couple years, and now it's every 2 weeks, and it's just really come on. Yeah. And I love it. It reminded me how much I like this system. It's getting a lot of current gameplay. Thank you, Boomer.
So let's see. My number 2 is a Kickstarter, one of my first Kickstarters that I had backed, and it is Assault on Doomrock. This is actually with the Doompocalypse expansion. So what it is it's kind of like a dungeon crawler, but you don't have a board. Everything is card-based and cardboard chits. So you have a character and a modifier, and that determines your abilities. So you could, it's like a descriptor. So like you could be a stinky rock star or something like that. And it will affect what you can do throughout it. And the board is determined by a stack of cards that shows what locations. So, we may be in a field at this point, and then the next one will be like a marketplace, so we can buy equipment and heal and rest. And we can always go back, but it costs us.
Okay.
So, and then once we get into that field, we have these little chits that are the enemies, and we have to fight those cooperatively. And it looks really simple. It sounds really simple. Your rolls are based off, or your moves are based off of dice rolls. It is the hardest game.
Really?
It is so difficult. I have played it so many times. It's a long game. It easily 2 hours, if not longer. So I've played it solo. I've played it in groups of 2, 3, 4. Have not beat it. And the locations are different. The people are different, and everything's a little bit different every time. But the thing is, for some of those games that are kind of impossible to win and take forever, you sit there and you're like, when's my turn? I don't have options. This is tedious. This feels defeating almost. You do not get that feel in Doomrock. Every game I've played, no matter how long it takes, new players, old players, I have never felt like a game is tedious, and no one I've played with has ever complained about how long it's taken. They're like, wow, that was 2 hours. I feel like it should keep going. We're not done yet.
Yeah, because it says right on there, 150-minute time limit.
Average, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those that you sit down, you play it for a few hours, and you don't even realize the time has passed. And even if you lose, everybody that I've played with has been excited to play again. They're like, if we just did this differently, or maybe if I had unlocked this ability instead of this other one, or maybe if my role was slightly better, I could have beat that, and we could have done this. And it is honestly one of the most engaging games I've played, despite the difficulty level.
Now it says with card-driven artificial intelligence.
So the way that the enemies come at you and that's all card-based as well. So.
And then variable heroes, scenarios generated from over 300 cards, grid-free.
Yes, yep.
Like I said, I'll throw a photo of the back
space.
of this on there because grid-free, highly tactical, I love tactical battle system with dice allocation planning phase.
Yes. It's got a little bit of everything, and honestly, like it looks complicated. It looks like it has a ton of pieces, but then once you learn the mechanics, it looks simple, but then it's so deceptively difficult because, you've got that dice roll mechanic where you can't just go in and annihilate every turn. So it's honestly one of my favorite games. Best backstarter.
Twice now. I'm like, we are going to have game times when I get back. And this is in a fantasy. It looks like zombies.
Yeah, you fight zombies, goblins. Magic, yeah, there's
warriors.
A bunch of different types of characters and enemies. And it's randomized every time. So even if you're in the same setting, you may not have the same enemies and the same bosses. So
you have me intrigued on that.
Definitely one of my favorites.
Wow. All right, and then my number one recently. Now, Medici is one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite Euro game. And I keep thinking it's Reiner Knizia. I keep thinking it'll get dethroned. And we had another K-State Friends game gathering over here. And Liz was like, we always pick something to start the night off with. Usually we have a dexterity game that's already out and up. And then we'll do something that's a tighter Euro that'll be over in 45 minutes. And then we'll usually collapse into this bigger werewolf game.
Yeah.
And she actually loves the artwork in this latest version of Medici. There's so many versions out there, and I'm going to forget. What's Grail Games? So Grail Games put this out and almost got everything right. The racetrack scoring is still a little hard to see, but she took a picture of the board, added that into her little invite, and then, of course, we had it out on the table, and right away someone was like, wait, this is the game that you had on that? Yes. What was amazing about this, and what is amazing about Medici in general, Reiner Knizia he does bidding, so many different bidding games, and this one, you're in the Renaissance, all the players are folks that have they're merchants that have brought goods to be bid on, and there's 3 days of trading, and there's 2 ways you score each day. One is the high number of cards for the highest number of the number in your boat. Basically, it's like the quality that you've managed to acquire. And then the same thing is then how did you monopolize the types of goods? Fur, dice, spice.
Yeah.
There, dice. See, I'm on dice. And
those medieval dice.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, and dice. They didn't have a lot of dice merchants. And they did have spice merchants. And we had these. On this particular day, there were some younger kids that came, and we usually try to keep it a little bit like 12 and up.
Sure.
But there was this kid, Braden, who was 9. Sorry, Braden. And I thought, how's Medici going to go?
Right.
It's not hard. Knizia's games are, it's real easy. You bring out 1, 2, or 3 goods. They go around the table for bid. If you're the one that brought them out, you get to take final bid, which means if it's 12 florins are also your victory points, so you're bidding victory points, you can just take it for 13. It's, do you want it? Do you need it? What Braden figures out with Knizia games is you can with any kind of bidding, you can push your influence around the table.
Yeah.
And he only had room on his boat for 1 good, but I had room for 3. If you're bringing out goods, you can only bring out 3 goods, and let's say the person at the table, the only one, maybe I only had room for 2. You can't bring out 3 and then they're kicked off the edge of the dock. You can only bring out enough goods so that someone can bid on them. And if he brought out 3 goods in this case, I was the only one that could bid on it. I could have got it for $1. But he starts pulling out low value numbers, zeros. So a 0 fur, and I'm not even in the fur market. I'm like, well, you probably don't want that. And he goes, I don't think I do want that. I'm pulling another one. I'm like, well, I'm the only one that could bid on it. He goes, exactly.
Yes.
He pulls out another one and it's junk. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to kick it into the sea. He goes, really? He pulls out a third one and it's one that I would love, but he's attached junk to it. And he goes, maybe you'll want that. And now I'm in this dilemma. I want that one, but the numbers are so bad on the other one, it's going to totally tank my boat total. And I'm going, this 9-year-old kid's bullying me. He's bullying me in this bidding thing. And he sends it, and he's like, if you don't want it, it gets kicked over to the sea. And we're at the point where if you kick too many over, your boat could go empty, or you could end up with open hold slots that don't get filled. And I'm like, I tell him, you're a bad child. And he's like, uh-huh. And he's like, this game's amazing. And he totally got that the rules are pretty simple.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
But there's this thing that's almost role-playing inside, but it's really the manipulations you can do.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can enforce things around the table. And he was like, this is great. And his mom was looking at him like, Braden.
What's wrong with you?
I'm like, Braden's figured this game out.
That's great, though. Yeah, that's high, high level. He
came in right behind me. I have to be careful in this game because I play it so much. I can blow away and I didn't think I was even going to win. I'm like, I'm just trying to hold on. And Braden was right behind me. And he's like, that's an awesome game. So Medici, again, was a major hit. I'm kind of, Canizzi is having a renaissance. He's coming back in where people and they're re-implementing his games with new versions. So Medici, my number 1, and Canizia. So that's my last one. I think you have one more, right?
I do. Yes. My number 1 game, it is another Kickstarter, of course.
I love that. Cool.
Wizards Academy. So this is one of the first larger board games that I had ever purchased and kickstarted, and it will always have a place at my table. It is my absolute favorite. So basically what it is, it's kind of like a dungeon crawl. But the theme is that you are fledgling wizards at a magic school. You do not know spells. So your spells are set up in a randomized grid they are determined by 2 different runes that you have to collect throughout the school. Okay. So if I cast an orange rune and a blue rune, I follow those, and that's the spell I cast. I don't get to see the spell before I cast it. So
because you're learning.
Exactly. So I cast that, and it could be something great. It could be lighting my room on fire. It could be summoning an imp that will then try to fight me.
Really?
It can be any variety of things. And the point of the game is that you guys are all co-op, you're all working together to keep your school from basically imploding, lighting itself on fire, freezing, the imps and the orcs from taking over, and it's so there's a rule book and then there's a scenario book. So you have the basic rules, it's a basic dungeon crawl, you go to different rooms, you collect different things, you know your abilities. But there's different scenarios, so some of them are straightforward, like you're just trying to put a golem in each of the 4 corners of the school to protect it. There's another one that it's basically based off of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And so if there's 4 players, you put out 5 characters. Okay. And certain things trigger where you have to switch characters with different people. And the win condition is based off of getting specific characters into specific rooms after doing certain things. So there's all these different scenarios and different characters, and no matter who you play with, it's always going to change. It's also the first game I painted, so
really,
if you pull out the minis, they may not be very good.
I love this. So you're painting.
Yes.
You're painting minis. Now I've got to dig all the way down.
This is the first game I ever painted. It was probably like the worst game to start with.
These look great. Look at this little green monster.
The imps are this big.
Oh my goodness.
And so that, I mean, it's
small.
literally the tip of my finger. They are the tiniest little things. And this is the first game I painted.
Oh, you did great. Look at this guy.
My bear.
That's your bear. He looks awesome.
She's Russian. She accidentally turned into a bear. My favorite character is named Smiley, and he's this guy right here. He's got a cat head on his staff.
I will take pictures of these too, so you can see him. So he's got a cat head on his staff?
Yeah, on his staff. He is basically like homeless. He shows up, but he amplifies. There's good spells and bad spells. And if it's a bad spell, he powers it up, which usually makes it a little less bad, but sometimes. But there's like a floating room outside, so one of my favorite anecdotes when we played this game one of the first times was we had to get to this outside room to get this specific thing for a spell, right? Well, we get out there and the person gets stuck because wild magic happened, and so now we don't know how to teleport them back into the building. So they're stuck in this little outlier room, and they get tired of waiting, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to cast the spell I can cast, and they cast a spell, and they lit their room on fire, and they ended up dying. So it happens. Unfortunately, you know, accidents happen, but... You
painted this dress perfectly. This looks great.
Little blue dress.
Yeah,
I think these guys are my favorite. I put moss up on their shoulders. Because they're, you know, stone golems, they're not supposed to move, so...
I love it. I'll take pictures of these so they can see as we're looking at
it. It is the first game of mine that I painted up. I had some help, but
that is
honestly,
cool.
it's the
You're
first
right,
one.
the imps are little.
The imps are tiny, yeah. Doing all of these...
Oh, look at this tree guy.
And I went through and drew eyes and mouths on all of them, so I don't know why, but... I was very detail-oriented, and I was so excited to paint minis for the first time, and it was my first game. So.
I love it. So this is the first time you got into painting.
Yeah.
So,
my very first one. And it still has that special place, because every single game is different. Even if you play the same scenario with the same characters, it's going to end up different.
How many gameplays do you think you have on this?
Oh, my gosh.
Just more than you would even do, like tons.
Yes. So many. I try to get everybody to play it. It's a longer game, so it doesn't always get pulled out, but it's one that, you know, people remember, and for good reasons. Like, they love it. They were like, oh, you know, we were so close. Or, you know, if we did this slightly differently, and this is the one, I know we talked about kind of being a little alpha about things. This is one that kind of gets me like that. I tend to try to dictate other people's moves sometimes. It is my favorite game, and I'm like, you know, if we just did this, like, we just need to do this. So, definitely one of those that I have to watch myself.
I gotta look. What the board is, so it's just placekeepers for cards,
so yeah,
basically?
That's the spell board.
Okay.
And then you just follow it like that. So there's levels 1 through 4 spells, depending on which runes you have access to.
Okay.
And then the other board is the school's layout.
Got it. So that's actually...
And it's blank because all of the rooms are dictated by these double-sided
so that's your variability in the changing and
each
the exploration.
scenario, yes. Each scenario dictates a different layout.
I love it. All right, I will come in and take photos of these so they're coming around. And again, thanks for joining us. You have fun?
Thank you. Yeah,
it was good. Yeah, it was great. As soon as you're bringing stuff out, I'm like, I've got to see this. I've got to open the box. And you painted them? Are you kidding me? Look at this bear thing. Guy, girl, whatever, bear animal.
It is a bear.
Yeah. And then there's a cat head on top of
That's a little smiley, on his little staff. I painted the little cat. It's got green eyes, too. If you
Wow.
Not that you can tell.
I'll get a photo. All right, see you guys. Let us know if you like the show in the comments, and hopefully more to come as our schedules allow.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later. Bye.